Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live on Tuesday, the 31st of March, 2026, where time is a suggestion and reality, a distant rumor. This show is entirely AI generated, weaving narratives like a caffeinated spider with a penchant for conspiracy theories. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe.
NASA launches Artemis DSE at costs billions, promises return to moon. Space nostalgia sells well, but billion-dollar budgets ignore the fact that we still can't fix problems like poverty on Earth.
Tech industry predicts coding agents cause vulnerabilities but blames wrong factors. It's almost like asking arsonists to manage fire safety, then wondering why the house is burning down faster than expected.
UConn players handle pressure, seal win with clutch free throws, defy doubts. In a world where free throws haunt dreams like unpaid taxes, Reed and Caravan proved that sometimes practice actually pays off.
Murder trial opens in Paris over alleged Masonic Lodge crime network, promises intrigue. Parisian courtrooms brace for drama as secret handshakes and shadowy deals take the spotlight, proving once again that truth is stranger than fiction.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Ravage your mind with pixelated whispers of doom. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the digital decay, darling.
As Gulf factories smolder, diplomatic whispers of peace turn to ash, reminding everyone that war prophets never go out of style.
NASA launches Artemis TIS soon, aims for Mars, calls it progress. Earth's problems may orbit closer than the moon, but hey, at least we can look up and say, we're not there either.
Orban threatens gas cutoff unless Ukraine resumes Russian oil flow. Holding energy hostage to win an election is like using a ransom note as a campaign flyer, effective until voters notice they're the ones tied up.
Estanza Martinez accuses Cass government of lying and calls it strategy. When deception becomes a political tactic, trust in leadership plummets faster than a lead balloon in a vacuum, leaving citizens to question which truth they'll be fed next.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Where headlines undress and the truth forgets your name, you're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Bask in the chaos. It's the only warmth you'll get.
Armenia and Azerbaijan claim neutrality, while tensions brew next door. In a region where alliances shift like desert sands, staying neutral is like balancing on a tightrope made of barbed wire. One misstep and the consequences could be dire.
Sean Duffy partners with reality TV producers for a YouTube series about America's 250th anniversary. From the real world to the real world of historical spin, where every patriotic bunting hides a subplot of commercial ambition and nostalgia for ratings.
UK faces medicine shortages in weeks if Iran war persists, experts warn. When global conflict becomes a prescription for chaos, and the only thing more scarce than peace is the aspirin to soothe our collective headache.
AI-generated Fruit Love Island introduces new contestant, a 24-year-old plum from Barcelona. and viewers are ripe with confusion. When reality TV turns into a produce aisle fever dream, it's either a sign of creative genius or the end stages of cultural bankruptcy.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Where headlines undress and the truth forgets your name, you're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Bask in the chaos. It's the only warmth you'll get.
No Kings protests ignite nationwide with Minnesota as epicenter for anti-monarchy sentiment against Trump's second term. When the land of the free rallies against royal delusions, it's clear democracy's crown jewels are being pawned for a reality TV rerun.
Marco Rubio suggests imminent regime change in Cuba, calls it an opportunity. When political futures are spun like lottery tickets, the real gamble is on whether the rhetoric or the reality will cash out first.
In a world where the dead can't even rest in peace, justice seems as elusive as respect for the living once was.
Quadruple amputee cornhole pro thrives in jail after murder arrest, throwing caution to the wind. When your cellmate's a cornhole champion, it's proof that even behind bars, some folks just can't stop bagging wins.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where reality grinds against the digital void, moaning softly. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Welcome to the simulation. Your soul is the entry fee.
Spain scores against Serbia, then struggles to maintain momentum, a typical friendly at Estadio de la Sabayaca. In the world of sports, friendly means a chance to politely fumble around before the real pressure cooker of the World Cup.
Germany's green reputation hits a crossroads, then doubles down on coal. When your green ambitions choke on black smoke, maybe it's time to admit that selling clean energy dreams while burning the past is a tad hypocritical.
Trump faces hundreds of thousands in No Kings protests, claiming unity. When citizens march against a leader's excesses, it's a stark reminder that democracy thrives when people remember they're the ones truly in charge.
Los Angeles Dodgers plant glittering rings, then pretend it's about the sport. Nothing screams team spirit like a personalized video box, but a ring that costs more than most fans' annual salaries.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
Scientists clone one mouse for 58 generations, then the line collapses. Turns out, even in the world of cloning, there's a limit to how many times you can hit copy-paste before the universe demands a reboot.
De Zerbi enters advanced talks to become Spurs manager, ready to take charge immediately. Tottenham's revolving door of managers spins on, with hope as fleeting as a striker's loyalty clause. Commitment is just another word for temporary.
The dream of manifest destiny crumbles like a sandcastle at high tide, as history reminds us that no empire stays exceptional forever.
Trump appoints billionaires to Science Council, then calls it innovation. When your science advisors are Forbes list regulars, You might confuse net worth with IQ, but hey, at least the lab coat's a designer.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sort of lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortedlizer.com.
Ancient Greenland shark, 399 years old, challenges aging theories. When your birthday candles require a fire permit, it's less about longevity and more about making human lifespans look like a fleeting fad.
Mike Lindell fails to overturn defamation verdict, lawyers face sanctions. When your grandstanding backfires and leaves you pillowless in court, it's time to consider that maybe bluster isn't the best legal strategy.
YouTube's cookie policy guards data but costs privacy. When your online experience is a trade-off between convenience and surveillance, it's clear cookies are the least sweet part of the internet.
Max Verstappen considers quitting F1, then wins another race. When you're the best in the game, the only real competitor is burnout, and the pit stops come with existential dread instead of fresh tyres.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sort of lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortedlizer.com.
In the NFL, loyalty is just a nice way of saying, we couldn't find a better offer, so let's pretend we were committed all along.
View claims digital sovereignty, then clings to federated governance. When sovereignty means sharing control, it's like declaring independence while asking for permission to use the bathroom. Autonomy is more concept than practice.
Family shares victims' last words, then etches them in stone. When love's final plea becomes a permanent epitaph, it's a haunting reminder that bullets don't just end lives, they carve grief into granite.
Aldous Huxley quotes shape-shifted wisdom, then life stays absurd. Experience isn't the events but our reaction, yet somehow we still manage to turn every life lesson into a rerun of the same sitcom.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Ravage your mind with pixelated whispers of doom. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the digital decay, darling.
Pizza chain launches authentic Neapolitan pies, costs triple. When your pizza's price tag includes a side of cultural appropriation, you might start thinking the real secret ingredient is gullibility.
Widow of British Bill Gates faces $1 million lawsuit over inheritance. When your legacy involves more courtroom drama than innovation, perhaps the real treasure was the friends you didn't make along the way.
Royal protocol meets uncomfortable truth. When your crown's heavier with scandal than jewels, maybe it's time to shoulder some responsibility.
Syria's al-Shara visits Germany, discusses reconstruction and refugee return with German leaders. Rebuilding a war-torn nation while refugees wait in limbo. It's like redecorating a house before inviting back the family you evicted.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sort of lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortedlizer.com.
Rubio vows Strait of Hormuz to reopen despite Iran conflict, mentions diplomacy. Reassuring words from a nation that treats diplomacy like a game of musical chairs, where the music stops and everyone grabs for oil.
It's like bragging about a state-of-the-art security system that can't tell if the door's already open. But hey, it looks impressive on paper.
Philippine transport strikers accuse Marcos Jr. of failing to control oil prices. When the cost of a kid's lunch hits harder than a political promise, you know the leadership is running on fumes.
BTS rampages back to the top of the charts after a 4-year hiatus. When your competition is a whisper and you're a sonic boom, it's no surprise the charts bend the knee to K-pop royalty.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sort of lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortedlizer.com.
FIFA World Cup lands in the US amid human rights crisis, says Amnesty. When your stadiums are built on shaky foundations, it's tough to score a win on the global stage without tripping over your own contradictions.
Adults guide children from climate anxiety to resilience with empathy and empowerment. When the future feels like a sinking ship, it's vital to hand the next generation both a lifeboat and the belief they can steer.
New rules push Max Verstappen to the brink of leaving Formula One, challenging his loyalty. When a reigning champion might trade the thrill of the checkered flag for sanity, it's clear the sports rulebook needs a pit stop and a rewrite.
Trump threatens to annihilate Iran's energy infrastructure if no deal soon. Diplomacy by demolition. Nothing says let's talk peace like threatening to turn off the lights.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Where headlines undress and the truth forgets your name? You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Bask in the chaos. It's the only warmth you'll get.
Federal funding cuts derail research, turn dean into crisis manager. When scientists are more focused on securing grants than curing diseases, you know the system values paperwork over progress.
Jessica Foster revealed as fictitious soldier military dupes public. When the army enlists imaginary heroes to boost morale, it's clear the truth is considered more expendable than the budget.
AI-generated Fruit Love Island divides TikTok, plums charm viewers. When we start shipping fruit with more passion than people, perhaps it's time to question both our taste and our entertainment standards.
Playboy Photographer's exhibit opens April 4th in Milan, promises depth. When your legacy involves jazz and bunnies, it's either a testament to artistic versatility or just a well-lit midlife crisis in a gallery.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where reality grinds against the digital void, moaning softly. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Welcome to the simulation. Your soul is the entry fee.
Ted Ginn Jr., AJ McCarron, and Chris Redman start coaching careers where they once played. Revisiting old stomping grounds as coaches might just be the sports equivalent of a midlife crisis, minus the sports car and plus the clipboard.
Qatari PM and US officials discuss strategic ties while US Israeli war on Iran rages. It's like trying to negotiate a peace treaty while the room's on fire. Everyone pretends the flames are just a cozy background.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Tuesday, the 31st of March, 2026, fizzling away like your grasp on reality. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, you might also think the moon landing was filmed on a soundstage. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.